In the far reaches of the Northern Hemisphere, there lies a land defined by its sheer immensity. It is a place where the Earth still breathes with a primordial rhythm, a colossal expanse that stretches from the crashing waves of the Atlantic to the mist-shrouded rainforests of the Pacific, and upwards, touching the frozen crown of the world in the Arctic. This is Canada. It is the second largest country on Earth, yet it remains one of the least densely populated. Here, nature is not merely a backdrop for human activity, it is the dominant force. It is a kingdom of silence, of violent storms, of endless forests, and of waters that hold the memory of glaciers long past. To understand this land, one must journey across its changing faces, witnessing a wilderness that is as brutal as it is beautiful. Our journey begins in the east, where the continent meets the sea in a chaotic embrace of rock and water. The coast of Newfoundland and Labrador stands as a sentinel against the Atlantic. Here, the geology tells a story billions of years in the making. The cliffs, jagged and unforgiving, rise vertically from the churning gray ocean. These rocks are among the oldest on the planet, battered by a relentless wind that shapes not only the stone but the life that clings to it. In the height of summer, these waters become a theater of giants. The collision of the warm Gulf Stream from the south and the freezing Labrador Current from the north creates a unique marine ecosystem, rich in nutrients. This richness summons the humpback whales. They arrive in the thousands, their massive bodies breaching the surface, a display of power that seems to defy gravity. Below them, schools of capelin swirl in distinct shimmering clouds, the lifeblood of the Atlantic food web. But the ocean here is treacherous. Fog, dense and ghostly, rolls over the Grand Banks, blinding anything in its path. It is in this mist that the Atlantic puffins make their homes. On the precipitous slopes of Elliston, thousands of these clowns of the sea nest in earthen burrows. They are small, frantic flyers, beating their wings up to 400 times a minute, diving into the dark water to hunt, returning with beaks full of silver fish for their waiting chicks. Their survival here is a delicate balance, dependent on the timing of the fish migration and the temper of the storms. Moving inland from the battered coast, the landscape undergoes a dramatic transformation. We enter the Canadian Shield. This is the geologic heart of the country, a vast horseshoe of exposed Precambrian rock that encircles Hudson Bay. It is a landscape scraped clean by the retreat of ancient ice sheets, leaving behind a scarred surface that now holds more fresh water than anywhere else on Earth. From above, the shield looks like a mosaic of blue and green, millions of lakes, rivers, and bogs interspersed with the dense, dark canopy of the boreal forest. The boreal forest is the lungs of the North. It is a continuous belt of green encircling the globe, but here in Canada, it finds its most majestic expression. Spruce, pine, fir, and tamarack trees stretch for thousands of kilometers. In the summer, the forest floor is a carpet of moss and lichen, soft and damp. It is a world of shadows and sunbeams. Here, the moose is king, standing over 2 meters tall at the shoulder, with antlers that can span nearly 2 meters. The bull moose moves through the dense brush with surprising silence. They are solitary giants, wading into the tea-colored lakes to feed on aquatic plants, their heads submerged, holding their breath as they graze underwater. But the boreal is not just a sanctuary, it is a battleground of the seasons. Winter here is not a brief interlude. It is the defining reality. As October fades, the temperature plummets. the lakes freeze over, turning into white plains. The silence deepens. In this frozen world, the great gray owl hunts. With hearing so acute it can detect the heartbeat of a vole under 2 feet of snow, the owl is a phantom. It glides without a sound, its feathers specially adapted to muffle the noise of the air. It plunges talons first into the snow, a blind strike guided only by sound, emerging with its prey. South of this frozen belt, the landscape softens as we descend into the basin of the Great Lakes: Superior, Huron, Michigan, Erie, and Ontario. These are not merely lakes. They are inland freshwater seas holding 1/5 of the world's surface fresh water. Along the rugged shorelines of Lake Superior, the water is crystal clear and bone-chillingly cold. It is here in the quiet backwaters and tributaries that we meet Canada's most industrious architect, the beaver. The beaver is more than a national symbol. It is a keystone species, second only to humans in its ability to manipulate the landscape. We watch a family at work as twilight falls. The sound of gnawing wood echoes through the trees, with teeth reinforced by iron, turning them orange and indestructible. A single beaver can fell an aspen tree in minutes, but their true genius lies in construction. Dragging branches through the mud, they build dams with an engineering precision that baffles the mind. These dams slow the flow of water, creating deep, still ponds. This is not just a home for the beaver, it is a gift to the forest. The ponds become nurseries for fish, hunting grounds for herons, and drinking holes for moose. In the winter, the beaver family retreats into their lodge, a fortress of mud and sticks that freezes solid, impenetrable to wolves. Inside, they are warm, swimming out through an underwater entrance to access their food cache stored at the bottom of the pond. They are the guardians of the water, reshaping the continent one branch at a time. As the seasons turn, this eastern region undergoes the most dramatic transformation of all. Autumn in eastern Canada is a phenomenon visible from space. The deciduous forests of Ontario and Quebec, dominated by the sugar maple, explode into color. It is a biological firework display. As the chlorophyll fades from the leaves, vibrant reds, oranges, and golds are revealed. For a few weeks in October, the rolling hills of the Laurentians look as though they are on fire. It is a final, desperate burst of energy before the long sleep of winter. In this leaf litter, the eastern chipmunk scurries frantically, cheeks bulging with acorns, racing against the frost. The forest floor becomes a chaotic tapestry of color and movement. Further west, the forest begins to thin, giving way to the vast openness of the prairies. This was once a sea of grass, an ecosystem that rivaled the Serengeti in its biomass. Today, remnants of this ancient landscape remain, protected and cherished. The sky here dominates everything. The living skies, as they are known, where cloud formations build into towering cathedrals of vapor. Thunderstorms in the Canadian prairies are violent and spectacular, rolling across the flatlands with the power of atomic blasts. On these plains, an icon has returned. The American bison, once hunted to the very brink of extinction, now roams the grasslands of national parks like Prince Albert and Elk Island. To see a herd of bison moving across the prairie is to witness a ghost of the past made flesh. They are engineered for this environment. Their massive heads act as snowplows in the winter, sweeping aside deep drifts to reach the frozen grass beneath. They weather blizzards standing facing the wind, stoic statues covered in frost, waiting for the storm to break. Sharing this landscape is the pronghorn, the fastest land animal in the Western Hemisphere. They can run at speeds of nearly 90 kilometers per hour, an evolutionary adaptation to escape the now extinct American cheetah. Today, they race the wind, their white rumps flashing as a signal to the herd, navigating the fences and farms that now crisscross their ancient migration routes. However, not all of the plains are flat grass. In the province of Alberta, the earth opens up to reveal the Badlands. This is a landscape that seems ripped from another planet, or perhaps another time. The Red Deer River Valley is a wound in the earth, exposing layers of sedimentary rock that date back 75 million years. Here, wind and rain have carved the sandstone into strange, towering pillars known as hoodoos, capped with harder stone like mushrooms made of rock. The heat here is intense, reflecting off the pale clay. It is a desert ecosystem, home to creatures found nowhere else in Canada. The prairie rattlesnake lies coiled in the shadow of a sagebrush, sensing the heat of a passing mouse. Scorpions skitter across the dry wash, but the true giants of this land are already dead. This is one of the richest dinosaur graveyards on Earth, as the rain washes away the clay. The bones of Albertosaurus and Triceratops are exposed to the sun for the first time in eons. A stark reminder that this arid canyon was once a lush, tropical swamp. Rising from these plains like a mirage are the Cypress Hills. They are an anomaly, a geological accident. When the great glaciers of the last ice age scraped across Canada, flattening everything in their path, they missed this high plateau. The Cypress Hills stood as an island in a sea of ice. Because of this, the flora and fauna here are distinct, a biological time capsule retaining species that have existed here for millennia, isolated from the world below. It is a sky island, a lodgepole pine forest floating above a sea of prairie grass, where elk bugle in the mist, unaware of the flatlands below. As we continue our westward drift, the horizon begins to change. The flat line of the earth breaks, rising into jagged teeth. We have reached the Cordillera, the Canadian Rockies. This is a vertical world, a fortress of stone that divides the continent. The scale here is humbling. Mountains like Mount Robson and Mount Assiniboine pierce the clouds, their peaks capped in eternal ice. The Rockies are a place of distinct vertical ecosystems. In the valleys, turquoise lakes like Louise and Moraine gleam with an unnatural brilliance. This color comes from rock flour, fine particles of sediment, ground down by glaciers and suspended in the meltwater, refracting the sunlight. Along these shores, the grizzly bear reigns supreme. A mother grizzly, protective and fierce, leads her cubs through the alpine meadows in spring. They are desperate for calories. After a 6-month hibernation, they dig for roots, overturn rocks for moths, and scavenge winter-killed carcasses. Every moment is dedicated to eating, for the winter will return all too soon. Higher up, on the sheer cliff faces where no predator dares to tread, lives the mountain goat. They are gravity-defying acrobats. With hooves that act like suction cups, they scale vertical walls to lick mineral salts from the rocks. They exist on the edge of the abyss, safe from wolves and bears, but always at the mercy of the avalanche. The sound of cracking ice and sliding snow is the soundtrack of the High Rockies, a reminder that these mountains are still being shaped, still moving, still dangerous. Just to the south of these high peaks lies the Okanagan Valley, a pocket of true semi-arid desert nestled between mountain ranges. Here, the landscape is painted in hues of sage green and ochre. In the heat of the summer, the spotted lake evaporates, leaving behind polka dots of mineral-rich pools, magnesium, calcium, and sodium sulfates, creating a natural mosaic that looks like an abstract painting. It is a fragile ecosystem, home to the burrowing owl, a small, comical bird that nests underground and hisses like a snake to scare off predators. North of the Rockies, in the wild territory of the Yukon, the landscape expands once more. This is the land of the midnight sun, where the gold rush once drew thousands of men. But the true gold of the Yukon is living. Here, we witness one of the last great land migrations on the planet, the journey of the porcupine caribou herd. Numbering nearly 200,000, they move as a single, flowing organism. Their journey is ancient, driven by instinct. They travel from their wintering grounds in the boreal forests to the calving grounds on the coastal plains of the Beaufort Sea. It is a trek of hundreds of kilometers across treacherous mountain passes and swollen, freezing rivers. The camera follows the herd as they approach the Porcupine River. The water is fast and cold. The calves, only weeks old, must swim or die. The tension is palpable. On the banks, the predators wait. The gray wolves of the Yukon are larger than their southern cousins. Working in packs with military tactical precision, they test the herd, looking for the weak, the old, or the slow. A chase ensues, a blur of gray and brown against the green tundra. It is a brutal, necessary dance. The wolves keep the herd strong. The herd keeps the wolves alive. High above this drama, the golden eagle circles. With a wingspan of 2 meters, it scans the mountainsides for Dall sheep. These snow-white sheep inhabit the steepest, most impossible ridges of the Yukon ranges. Their lambs play on scree slopes where a single slip means death, protected by the sheer inaccessibility of their playground. West of the Rockies and the Yukon, the climate shifts dramatically. We descend towards the Pacific Ocean, entering a world of rain and mist. This is the Great Bear Rainforest. It is the largest intact coastal temperate rainforest left on the planet. Here, the trees are ancient giants, western red cedars and Sitka spruces that have stood for 1,000 years. Their trunks so wide it would take 10 men to circle them. The forest floor is a chaotic tangle of ferns and fallen logs draped in thick, dripping moss. This ecosystem is driven by a single event, the salmon run. Every autumn, millions of Pacific salmon, sockeye, coho, chinook, leave the ocean and fight their way upstream into the forest rivers to spawn. It is one of nature's greatest migrations. The rivers turn red with their bodies. This arrival triggers a feast. Black bears, wolves, and eagles gather by the water. Far to the west, separated from the mainland by the volatile Hecate Strait, lies the archipelago of Haida Gwaii, often called the Galapagos of the North. These islands are shrouded in myth and mist. Because they were partially unglaciated during the Ice Age, life here has evolved on a different path. The black bears of Haida Gwaii are larger than their mainland counterparts, with massive jaws developed for crunching hard-shelled intertidal crabs. We dive beneath the dark surface of the Pacific here to reveal a world of neon color. The cold water is rich in oxygen, supporting a jungle of giant kelp that grows half a meter a day. In this emerald underwater forest, the giant Pacific octopus glides. It is an alien intelligence, changing color and texture in a millisecond to blend with the rocks. It hunts crabs, moving with a fluid grace that belies its size. Nearby, the wolf eel, with its crumpled old man face, peers out from a rocky den. Despite its monstrous appearance, it is a gentle giant, mating for life and fiercely guarding its eggs. But to truly understand Canada, one must look north, far north. Beyond the tree line where the forest surrenders to the tundra lies the Arctic archipelago. This is a landscape of minimalism, ice, rock, and sky. In the winter, the sun does not rise for months. The land is locked in the polar night. Under the dancing ribbons of the aurora borealis, green, purple, and red lights that shimmer across the magnetosphere, the Arctic is a place of brutal beauty. Temperatures drop to minus 50 degrees, yet life persists. The muskox, looking like a creature from the Ice Age, stands firm. Their undercoat, kiviut, is 8 times warmer than sheep's wool. When threatened by Arctic wolves, they form a defensive circle, horns facing outward, protecting the calves in the center. It is an ancient strategy that has worked for thousands of years. The undisputed lord of this realm is the polar bear. On the sea ice of Hudson Bay and the Beaufort Sea, they hunt ringed seals. The bear is a marine mammal, more at home in the water than on land. They are patience personified, waiting for hours at a breathing hole for a seal to surface. But their world is melting. The climate crisis is hitting the Arctic twice as fast as the rest of the planet. The sea ice, the platform upon which the polar bear's existence depends, is forming later and breaking up earlier. We see bears swimming longer distances, exhausted, struggling to find solid ground. The fragility of this frozen world is the warning bell for the rest of the planet. Summer in the Arctic is a frantic explosion of life. The sun does not set. For 24 hours a day, the tundra blooms with wildflowers, Arctic poppies, saxifrage, and lupines. Millions of migratory birds arrive from as far away as Antarctica to nest. The narwhal, the unicorn of the sea, migrates through the cracks in the ice, their long ivory tusks breaking the surface of the dark water. It is a season of plenty, a desperate race to feed and breed before the sun begins to dip below the horizon once again. And in the far reaches of Ellesmere Island, glaciers crash into the sea. These are the last great ice shelves. The sound is deafening, a thunderous roar as ice that fell as snow thousands of years ago returns to the ocean. It is a reminder of the hydrological cycle that connects every corner of this vast country. The water from this melting ice will eventually travel south, joining the currents that feed the Atlantic and Pacific, closing the loop of our journey. Canada is more than just a country. It is a testament to the resilience of life. From the microscopic lichen dissolving rocks in the high Arctic to the massive humpback whale breaching off the coast of Newfoundland, everything here is connected. It is a land of extremes where the temperature can swing 80 degrees between summer and winter. It is a land of transition, constantly shaping and reshaping itself. From the microscopic plankton to the 2-ton bison, from the humid rainforests of the Pacific to the frozen deserts of the Arctic, Canada is a study in contrasts. It is a land where the sun can shine at midnight and where the sea can turn to stone. It is a place where the ancient rhythm of predator and prey plays out on a stage of epic proportions. This wilderness is not a static painting. It is a violent, beautiful, churning engine of life. It cleans the world's air, filters the world's water, and provides a sanctuary for the wild spirit that still resides within us all. As we look out over these vast spaces, the endless green of the boreal, the towering granite of the Rockies, the shifting white of the Arctic pack ice, we are reminded of our own smallness. In a world that is becoming increasingly crowded and noisy, the Canadian wilderness offers a rare commodity: silence. Not an empty silence, but a living one, filled with the wind, the water, and the breath of animals that have roamed these lands since before history began. As the northern lights begin to dance once more, curling in green ribbons above the silent, snow-covered spruce, we are left with a profound sense of wonder. The story of Canada's nature is one of endurance. It demands respect. It asks us to tread lightly. For in the end, this wildness is not just a national treasure. It is a global inheritance. It is the wild beating heart of the North, and it is our responsibility to ensure that it continues to beat, strong and wild, for generations to come.